Hi guys, it's Colette. Welcome back to my channel, and this is the weekly tarot card for the week commencing Monday the 29th of April 2019, and it's a good one, but I have a story about it to try and give you the sort of underbelly of the card, which I think is very important. It's the 10 of Discs, or the 10 of Pentacles in the Rorik deck, and you'll see that there's the sort of, with Rorik, a lot of the cards have like the bright light on the horizon, and under the earth there is a big pile of mixtures of everything. There's keys, seashells, like little pen drives, compasses. Oh my goodness, if you can get that up, look at all the visuals that are in there, and they're buried just under the ground. It's a Pentacles card, so it is the earthy element anyway, and it's the suit of Discs or Pentacles, which tends to be the mundane suit, or the suit that's about money and living and day-to-day stuff. It's a very important suit, although sometimes it can feel very monotonous if you get too many of them out over a course of weeks. But the number 10 is it's kind of the conclusion of the suit before we move on to the court cards, and because of that it builds on all the cards from the aces right through. It's one of my favourite cards in Rorik, but I recommend kind of meditating on cards, and this is a really good card because in general it means that there'll be a degree of security, of practical things working well, even financial security, financial bonus, or a state of mind that is secure. Not so much the mental aspects, but the feeling of, right, we're okay, so what can we do with that? It's a really good card for anything that needs investment, that needs you to be practical and plan finances. It's a good card for making finances work for you. But I was meditating on this card a number of years ago, and I've got the larger of this deck, so it's maybe easier to see, but I was very much focused on what I thought was just like a bit of sand in the middle of the road. But the more I gazed at it, the more I realised that that was under the surface of the earth, and it was like covered, almost like buried treasure. And it got me thinking, and I got these visuals of, sometimes we're always striving for looking for the buried treasure, and is it really there? Is it an ideal? And then all of a sudden my mind went into an absolutely horrific film, and I seen it, and it was called The Road. And I'd read the book, so I knew what to expect from the film, but The Road's a dystopian thing about a dad and his son trying to survive in just after some sort of Holocaust or whatever, and it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. But in one scene, they're so tired and hungry and done in, and they manage to find a trap door, and in it is a buried room with lots of food, millions of tins, every part of sustenance that they could need. And immediately they're in, and they're eating tins of peaches, and they're making up everything they can, and they've locked it down, and they're safe and secure in case the baddies come and try and get their food off them. And it's quite an uplifting scene that they've actually found food and sustenance. But after a while they're full. After a while they've eaten what they can, and they know they need to move on from it, that all the food in the world is not necessarily going to allow them to achieve their goal, which is to get to the coast or whatever and find other people. And when I saw that scene, I thought, oh my goodness, in my head, how good is that? How often have we yearned for something? Maybe the car, the house, that ring, that tarot deck. These things that, maybe are about a cost, and maybe money and something we can't afford, but we've yearned for them, and we've maybe saved up for them, and we've got them, and oh, the high is amazing, and we love it, and we sit with it for a while, and we enjoy it, and then at the end of the day, it becomes the new normal, and sometimes we wonder, now we've got maybe that thing or that stability. You have to sit in a place and say, as well, I've got material goods that I need, or I've got that secure, well-paid job, but is it keeping me somewhere where I should really be moving forward with for something else, not necessarily something else monetary. But this is a really good card, right? It's just, it does give a sense of the good things. It brings material aspects, it brings security, it brings a sense of wealth and well-being with the practicalities of life. And, having enough money can help mental health, it can help emotional health. But I read something, I think on Twitter last week that, it's horrific about the Sri Lankan bombings, but I read that I think the second richest man in the world lost 3 children in those bombings, and every passing and every death is equal, don't get me wrong. But again, it's interesting that this card has come up. He had everything material that he wanted, and yet life still destroyed him. And I'm sure he would give every bit of his billions to have those 3 children back. So although this is a good card, it has the odd wee warning, that materialism can go too far, that you can aspire to wealth or whatever, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get cancer. It doesn't mean that that it's going to save you from the worries of life. This is sounding a wee bit more like the road, isn't it? But it's a really good card. Let us know it is a really good card, and I do like it. But when I was meditating on this card and what to say about it, I got the road film, that scene, and I got that man, the billionaire that lost his children, and prayers to him and his family for their grief, because I couldn't bear it. I just couldn't bear it. However, so I want you all to enjoy this card, but to remember, and those of you that are maybe a wee older like myself, probably know that. I mean, I was the 80s pharmacist, the power suit, the shoulders, and the car, and everything, and I aspired to that image. It was the 80s. We wanted that house, that money, whatever, but my spirituality was developing in the background, and although I enjoyed the 80s, by the time I was into the 90s, I was like, don't think I want this anymore, which was difficult. So I suppose that 10 of disc is like, I had a lot, but it wasn't sustaining me. And that's what I want you to know from this card, that it is generally good, but if you achieve what you want, don't let it hold you back in other areas. Don't let a well-paid job make you unhappy. Don't let materialism hold you back from spiritual practice. You can be wealthy and be spiritual. I know some very major, particularly Hindu men, that vastly wealthy, and then in their 60s just went, well, I've done this, there's my family, okay, I'm going to take it easy now, I'm going to go into spiritual meditation and going to eat porridge and plant-based, and that's me. And they've done this amazing thing with wealth, and they've passed it on as well, but it's still never been enough. As they move forward in their life, they needed to go into their own spiritual place. So I'm really going off key with this card. So let's get back on. Enjoy the 10 of discs. What does it mean in work? It means that you might get a raise. It means you might get a wee tax rebate. It means that you might find that you're happier with the things that come with work, whether that's a new desk, whether that's a bonus, whether it's health insurance. There's things that are to do with this card that are not necessarily about money. They can be things, or things that have a monetary value, but they're good things for life. So you might find that in work and enjoy that. But remember, if you are in a well-paid job, or a job that's providing, but it's not nurturing your soul, the 10 of Discs then becomes a negative influence and may keep you there out of fear, and that's no good. If we look at health, it's very much discs. So all the discs in the back are activated by this card. I also, again, go back to hidden worries about money and how that can affect your mental health. And when this card is negative, it can be worry about things like gambling. It can be worry about things like overspending. Again, if it is that mental health card beside it, then that could plunge this into some sort of gambling or problematic addiction with the material. So as a good card, it maybe gives you a wee bit extra money to do the things you want, whether that's a gym membership, whether it's to buy some supplements. It can be good in that way. And for love, it's not really the best card to find a partner, because with this you have to be very aware that you might be putting on your fancy clothes, and you might be going out and showing off the biz, and maybe attract someone that's similar to what you're showing rather than to maybe who you are deep inside. So you've got to watch out for that. That's just part of it. If you're in a long-term relationship, it can bring a boost to stability, whether that's through money or the practical things in life, that sorting a house out or sorting an insurance policy, those sort of kind of boring things, but they bring us joy and they bring us a sense of stability. Again, financially, it's a really good card. It can bring all sorts of bonuses. It can sort out money worries. It can bring in money from different sources that you never knew. You could maybe be feeling short of money, and then you get a wee tax rebate, or sorry, I'm saying this for some of the folk in the USA just now that are actually paying out more tax, but you might find that it's not as bad as you thought, or there's something coming to make up from it from another direction. And just enjoy. It's a practical card. Spiritually, it's not really a spiritual card, although it does connect a lot of people with stones and with crystals. And I was asked a question. I'm going to do a question and answer video coming up soon, but someone asked about connection with stones, and I felt that whether it's gemstones or crystal stones or stones, I felt that deserved a full video. So there will be a video at some point in the next month on the connection with Mother Earth through stones. And it sounds a bit odd, but it's something that I have a lot of experience with, and shamanically very much connect with stones. And I know there's lots of people out there whose kids collect stones and have a happy stone and have a sad stone, and there is an energy behind that. So I want to go into that. This card, the 10 of Discs, can allow you to have enough money to buy the crystals or the tarot deck or the course that you want to go to. So that's how it can aid spirituality. But remember, if materialism is holding you back from being your true spiritual self and walking your talk, then this becomes a negative influence. So I hope I've explained it in a way, like, I work very much with even pop culture. There's lots of visuals come into my head that, from The Simpsons and various songs and whatever. And I've always used that in my books as well, because I think people have a a consensus around a lot of pop culture things, and so that's why I like putting them in, because if you're struggling with understanding a card or, you know, some sort of path, having the odd wee reference that we can go, oh yes, I understand that can be helpful, and I do enjoy it myself. So that's why I talked about the road and a few other things. So enjoy the week ahead and make the most of your money. And remember, the only thing that money can't buy you really is time. So be aware of that. Or can it? No, it can't. You could, like, some people want extra hours to buy a house. Some people want less hours to buy time for themselves. So in a way, money can buy you time, I suppose, once you've reached a certain level, but it can't buy you lifetime. So be aware of that. But I'm sure you all are anyway. Anyway, I'm going to go because I'm blethering again. Many blessings. Have a lovely week, and I hope you'll join me. Give me a thumbs up. Maybe share the videos if you can. I'm going to be off in a few weeks just to have a wee sort of holiday break. So if you could keep sharing the videos, that would help with the YouTube algorithm. Many blessings now.